city going on the bus to. Here we are, brand new day, brand new city. We are in Gyeongju, the ancient capital city of Korea. We'll start the day by heading to the coast. We've arrived to our first site of the day, a temple, and this is quite a significant temple. We are at the birthplace right now, at the birthplace of Korea, where the first emperors of Korea lived and ruled from this very city. And so this temple has been here since the time of those emperors, and that's what we're going to see today. Although there are many temples here in Gyeongju, this by far is the biggest. Not only a spectacular temple, but spectacular surroundings, just everything about it. Beautiful, peaceful, just like any other temple in the world. So one temple down, first sight we have seen. Now we're back. We're headed back to the bus, and we'll be going to yet another temple. And so far, my impressions of Jianju, I actually love it here. I think it's spectacular. Simply the amount of things here, the amount of history, it's unparalleled, and all as well right in the middle of some unbelievable mountain ranges. They're absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, back on the bus. Look at it! This has to be the coolest buildings in the world. Come on. Look at it. Fuck the Empire State Building. Look at that. That's fucking insane. Here's how expert we've gotten at Korean now. We need this bus, and we need to get to It'll take us all the way down to the coast. And there's a couple of things to see there, and from there we can work ourselves back and see whatever else there is to see. You'd be forgiven to think that they're just random pile of rocks and it's exactly what it looks like, a random pile of rocks. But you'd be wrong. This pile of rocks in the middle of the ocean here between Korea and Japan is the tomb of former emperor, tomb of Munmu. As the story goes, the man was buried here in this tomb. So one day he can return as a sea dragon to protect Korea against the Japanese. Coming here has actually given me so many more questions, as in, How the fuck did they do this? Can you go visit there? Is he like in the rocks? Did they have to carve in a tomb? Was he just placed on top? So many questions.
So, day 3, and we're done with hostel life. There are some things wrong with hostel life. One of which is being right next to a karaoke bar, which runs throughout the night up until 2 AM. So the music goes up to the hostel. So now we're on the streets of Gyeongju. And as you might see, I'm not particularly sure how Korea functions on a Sunday. As you might be able to tell, it's pretty damn quiet here. Not many things are open right now. And as we see with the streets of Jianju, it's really quite small considering that it is an ancient capital. Not really a complaint, more of an observation, because there's nothing worse than an enormous fucking city that takes 2 hours to get from A to B, whereas here is quite nice and easy. Everything's within walking distance, as that's what we're doing today. As regards to what I think about Jianju, I'm absolutely stunned why it's not more talked about. I mean, when people come to travel to South Korea, they always mention the same kind of places, you know, Seoul, Busan, Jeju Island, but for some reason I don't know why Jeonju isn't in the same conversation. I mean, so far from what I've seen, this city has everything a traveler would ever want. It has all the different elements of nature. There's mountain ranges which you can easily hike. It's right up against the coast if the beach is what you're into. You know, it has museums, it has the cultural aspect, it has everything. This would be, I have to say, would be one of the best places if you were to come to South Korea. This would be one of the best places to come. And I don't know why that isn't spoken about more. Why don't people know about this place? It took me until my second day here for me to actually know how to pronounce the name of the city. Why? This place should be known worldwide. Oh, good. All in Korean. Fantastic. Yeah, that tells me everything I need to know. It says right here that I believe this was the site of the very first McDonald's, followed by Starbucks over here. And I'm not completely sure on this, don't hold me to this, but I'm sure there was a Nike store around here about the 6th century, something like that. From what I can gather, this is quite a historically relevant site. This was a site of a former palace. It may not have been in use, it was under construction for many, many years, and it was said that the appearance of a yellow dragon destroyed the area, destroyed the palace. But more realistically, it was the appearance of those pesky Mongolians who turned up and completely destroyed the palace, burned it right down to the ground. This is all that remains. A few relics, a few stones here and there that have been excavated. And from what I see, they're still in the process of excavating certain areas. Not really much proof left that there was ever anything here. So this is Dongguan Palace and Wolji Pond. A couple of minutes here and I've already convinced myself that whatever house I do end up having, I must have a pond. I must have a pond with fish. Apparently in past years, in ancient times, you know, this park was filled with deer and all sorts of wildlife. And I can only imagine how it must have been in its heyday. You can tell exactly why this sort of place is a sort of place for an emperor. This is where you'd want to reside. This is the kind of place where you'd want to spend your days. If you're a history buff, if you're a Tomb Raider, or you just have any interest in that sort of thing at all, this city is the best thing that you can ever ask for. It's unbelievable. Honest to God, every 100 meters or so, I just accidentally run into something else from an ancient period in time.